Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our December 17th webinar. The title of this webinar is Hosting Impactful Workshops for Clubs and Member Needs. This is our sixth webinar this year. We've been doing this for about a year and a half. And one of the things I want to mention is for those who are not familiar with a webinar, a couple of things you need to keep in mind. We can't see you, so don't put anything up, wave your hand, at all. If you have any questions, what we actually do is simply put it in the Q&A. One of the things that we will be doing at the end of this webinar is a call to action. And that's something we would like for you to do so that the next time we get together, we can talk about or see just exactly what you've done. You know, one of the most important things that we believe here in Rotary, that engagement is the key to keeping members. You gotta engage your members, not monthly, not weekly, but daily. And this is sort of like a test for us. December, if you're a district governor or if you are a president, you're wondering about your numbers, because what it tells us in December and June, just how well you engage your members. If you engage your members, you won't see a drop in membership. If you didn't engage your members, then all of a sudden, 35 members decide to leave your club, and we can't have that. So to get us started, let's start with a call of action. And I want to introduce, after this call of action, a very special guest. He has a new title, and I want to mention that to you too. So if you don't mind, Farron, could you pull up the call of action for us, please? Our first poll. The last month webinar prompt you to have the necessary conversation about invoicing. You only have a single choice, yes, no, or I don't know. And like I said, this is a test for us. We need to know, first, that you're having those type of conversations, and B, what's the results of that? Okay. Are we there? Okay, this is the answer. Oh, great. Oh, we had 25% of folks say, yeah, they had those conversations. Still didn't have those, 19% still didn't have it, and a larger percentage just didn't know. It's very important that we have those type of conversations, because engagement, that's one of the things we want to keep doing. Now, I know you didn't come to this webinar to hear me talk. The first thing you want to listen to is the new, I think it's director nominee for zone 25A and B and 29. I gotta get used to calling that. My friend Tom Gump, he's a moderator tonight. So Tom, take it away.
Well, thank you, Lloyd. And I'm very excited that you all came to join this webinar tonight. It's amazing, this close to Christmas, that all of you took time to show up. That means you care about growing Rotary membership. And why do we want to grow Rotary membership? So we have more hands and hearts for service. And I am really personally excited about hosting impactful workshops for club and members' needs. That's the title of our session tonight. And we're going to jump right into it. We will be addressing each of the four panelists, and after each one, after hearing their answers to a series of questions, we are going to do a poll. Now, Lloyd gave you the poll question, and you answered it from last month's call to action as an example, because at the end of the meeting today, we'll give another call of action, which will help you improve membership if you decide to follow it. So if DGND, Gretchen Noman, will show her face on the screen. Wonderful. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate you, Gretchen, on becoming a member of District 6000's governor line. That's very exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I know from hearing you facilitate sessions at North Central President-elect training seminars that you're really good at hosting impactful webinars and all kinds of seminars. So my first question is, how do you go about choosing a topic that'll have impact for your attendees?
So, a big thing that I think is really important is looking at what your audience is. Asking the question of, why are we wanting to put this workshop together and who's really in charge of it? So, an example that I can reference, like Tom, you mentioned, was the NC Pets, and really gauging what do those district governor elects want to accomplish and what do they want to send home, to those members that are coming to that training so that those president-elects, president nominees that come can go home and share the passion, share the goals that they learned. So just gauging the interest of, what do you want to teach them? What do you want them to go home with? And a big thing to me too is what experience is coming to play at the workshop so that you know who you're talking to, how to, as I say, make that light bulb turn on in their head with that key word that comes home with them so that they can go take their passion and share it with their club members.
Wow, I feel like I've already had value out of this seminar already because it makes sense. If you want to make your audience happy, you take them into account while you're getting ready for the webinar or seminar. So do you typically go with Rotary topics or non-Rotary topics, Rotary speakers, non-Rotary speakers, or is it a combination?
I personally that I think it takes both because I think Rotary can intertwine in your personal life, your professional life, and your Rotary life. I think it's really important that you incorporate all those areas of focus within your speaking, whether it's a Rotary speaker themselves or if it's an outside speaker, because I think that you can relate real life situations into everything that you do in and outside of Rotary. But it's also looking at what are the needs, how to engage the people with those topics. Are they going to want to come and listen to someone that speaks for 45 minutes straight and doesn't leave for room for question and answer? Are they going to want to listen to someone that puts them to sleep? Or are they want to be more exciting to listen to someone that's going to make jokes with them while they're doing a certain workshop? What, again, it goes back to the first thing of what's going to make that light bulb turn on for them and how can you relate those topics correctly to them so they take a message home because you want them to go home with that correct message of what you're trying to accomplish. I also think that it needs to be that you're aligning with what their needs are and how do you get them to network within being at that workshop too. So it's a combination of having your Rotary speakers, having outside speakers, leaving room for them to talk to each other because I think that's really important because they might learn even more from interacting with themselves.
Great. And I got to say, your audience will not fall asleep tonight because I love that bright colored shirt. Is
Yes,
that from John Ockenfeld's flight around the world for polio?
it is, yes. I was graced with this, thankfully, when he got back from his trip. The whole district leaders that went over to the international conference this last spring wore one when he was on stage and everything to support him. So yeah, I was pretty excited to get one. He even signed it for me. So
That's very cool. So you're not only preaching it, you're actually living it because you're being vibrant. That's perfect.
yeah.
So when a district or a club is hosting a webinar or a seminar, I know you've been through a lot of them. What are the common mistakes that they usually make so our audience can avoid making them?
I think the biggest mistake that I've seen happen is not having goals to what they want to accomplish. I think setting down the SMART goals, figuring out what do they truly want to accomplish, and then also not looking at what the audience wants, not knowing what the audience wants. So that goes back to, did they actually do a survey in advance? Have they taken notes from maybe past workshops that didn't go correctly? Also, poor time management. So that goes to, did the speaker talk 45 minutes straight and no times for question and answers? And were they a vibrant speaker? Because if it's not a vibrant speaker, you lose people's interest. The lack of networking, the no interaction with each other, that's really huge. We as humans want interaction, whether we realize it or not. I think that's a big mistake that happens all the time. And then not having the right venue or the format. I think that's huge. If you don't have the right seating, if you have people around a table that they're going to have a back to the speaker, I think that's not personable. I want everybody to be able to not have to move and be able to see their speaker at all times and make it comfortable. And forgetting food is a huge thing when you have a workshop in person. Everybody likes snacks, and it seems that it always brings people when you have the food things. But and then wrapping it up too is it kind of goes back to the survey part if you ignore the feedback, you ignore those surveys of what didn't go right or what went wrong, if you don't look at that and actually act on that, I think that doesn't set you up well to move forward for it. So
I definitely agree with you. I remember when I was district trainer, coffee was a big deal too. People needed coffee when they got there.
yeah, I've learned gummy bears are huge.
Ah, interesting, interesting. So the planning would help you set themes and sub-themes so you can target what you want to say if there's a particular message that your group wants to hear or needs to hear.
Yes, correct. Yep. I think it's very important to do that planning for it.
Our zone has something called what used to be called One Rotary Summit. Now it's called One Summit. Have you heard about that?
Yes, yes. I have actually helped host in our district a few of those over the last couple years. And I think it's really important to do it. We've done a couple only virtual, and we've done one just recently as a hybrid option, and it worked really well. We had over 100 attendees between in-person and virtual option, and just really focusing on the three topics and how they all come together and how they can go home with those messages to their club members even more was really important for us on that part.
I really like them because as a district trainer, it's nice to get a whole seminar in a box, promotion, facilitator questions, facilitator training guides, and things like that. Well, thank you. And if you can stick around, we're going to have Farron do our first actual poll because the first one was referred to last month. And then we'll move on to our next speaker.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. So, question number 2, has your club or district hosted an impactful workshop in the last year, the last 12 months? And your answer, you can only choose one answer, yes, no, or I don't know. I feel like we should have the Jeopardy theme music playing when we answer these. Farron, can we do that next month? Drum roll and answer. Yes, 61% said yes, they've hosted an impactful workshop in the last 12 months. That's great. 30% said no, and 9% said don't know. So the majority has hosted an impactful workshop. That's good to know. So we will move on to panelist number 2, Karen. Hi, Karen.
Hi, how are you doing this evening?
Well, I hope you are too. Can you tell
Yes,
our
sir.
audience a little bit about yourself?
My name is Karen Allen Mirabo. I am a member of the Rotary Club of San Antonio Pearl. I'm also the AG for New Braunfels as well as San Marcos, and I have been a member, especially in this district, for going on 4.5 years now.
Fantastic. So Lloyd talked a little bit in his opening about engagement, and we have the action plan and we have 4 strategic plan priorities, and the third one is engaging our members. So how do you engage Rotary members through using workshops?
For me, and especially, I'll use an example and talk about it a little bit later. For workshops, one, communication is key. We, in our particular club, we have a very diverse group of individuals from 20 to 70. So we all come from a different background and we all have different experiences. So for a really big thing for engagement, yes, we do use surveys and polls and look for open-ended questions because we want to hear from you because everybody is different and has a different take on things. So one of the things we love to do, get feedback surveys, because that really it will guide us in the direction of where we need to go when it comes to the workshop, because we don't want to put something on and you're not going to capture what we're trying to express. So we are very heavy on submitting those type of surveys and things like that. Poll questions we use. And also that's a way that we can express our workshop goals of what we wish to accomplish. And then we can incorporate based on the survey information, we can expound on that in the workshop to make sure that we have a fruitful workshop for you.
Wonderful. Have you ever used Kahoot where you ask the audience questions and the word cloud comes up with?
Yes. Multiple times. And you really get to find out about, someone that's there when you do Cahoots. So yeah, Cahoots is a big draw for us.
I love it when they have international audiences and they start putting words up in their own language. That's always fun.
That brings back whenever I'm over in Germany. I love and when you said international, because then they'll say something and then I'll have to toss something out there too.
So you talked about the importance of communication. In a workshop setting, how do you build a collaborative, open, and engaging area so that people feel they can contribute?
First things first is icebreaker. I cannot stress with an icebreaker. For example, and you have the standard questions. Me, I'm the type of person, you have your standard icebreakers. And haven't you noticed there are some people, they shy away because they know an icebreaker is coming. So you try to find some commonality or some niche that will, bring everybody together to get them to relax. A lot of times, in my case, I'll look for something like, say, first, the holidays are coming up. What is a holiday tradition? And you get to find something out about a different person. And that person maybe, they may, hey, I'm from Louisiana, so I like this. And that may connect another person in the audience. So a lot of times I try to make an icebreaker to basically point out the different, the niches and everything. And that way you can compound on that. Like I said, I'll use something very close to the current, like a holiday or something out of the blue, like what is your favorite rock band, or if you could have a conversation or dinner with anybody, who could it be? You find out some interesting things about a person when you do something like that. So I think when you use the icebreaker, that really releases the tension and get everybody ready and open to and receptive to the information that or either the concept you want to get over across at the workshop.
I remember one Pets I was at where they gave us all a very large sheet of paper, like one of those ones you stick on the wall, and they said, make a paper airplane. And then we tried to see whose went the farthest. So I crumpled mine into a big ball and I threw it and it went the farthest, but I'm not sure what that says about me.
I think, see,
So,
that's a good one for the next workshop. But you see, those are some, and also you can gauge by that icebreaker. There are those that are, okay, I want everybody to stand up, or those that are born, you'll see the ones that are a little hesitant. And that way you can make adjustments. You can really read the room and see where you need to guide your workshop. That is a really key point for a facilitator, is reading your audience to gauge where you can go, because you can prepare this, that, and the other, but once you're in that room, that can really determine where your workshop is going to go by reading your room.
and I don't know about you, but I really like the physical exercises that get people up and moving. One time I had a huge ball of yarn, like the size of a basketball, and we passed it around. And we kind of learned if you pull together one way, you go, but if you pull opposite ways, you don't go. But I think that physicality, especially in the middle of a workshop, helps too.
It does. It's a lot better than Red Bull.
That's right. That's right. And healthier too. So, Karen,
Yes,
if
sir.
you get the energy up and you're going through, how do you maintain that energy throughout the workshop?
I think it goes also back into reading the room, because basically you can start on a high. You come in, you have everybody going just like you use it with the paper airplane, and everybody is ready and receptive. Of course, the snacks kind of help too. But
Yeah.
as you start, you make sure that as you're delivering and talking about whatever is the topic and objectives of the workshop, when you can see that lull, when it's a little bit too much, you can either stop and, hey, let's take a break, let's focus on here, or you can, just kind of ease it into where, hey, I'm gonna give your mind a rest. Maybe it's information overload, but we're gonna take a moment, take a breather, focus, reshift our focus. That way you can get the blood flowing and you can get them back focused on the objectives of the workshop. And
Wonderful.
if all else fails, you can have them stand up and kind of do a little PT to get that blood flowing too.
Mhm. So, do you ever put candies out on the table and put little toys on the table and things like that?
Especially something to fidget the hands or just to keep them in engaged. Because if you just have them sitting there looking at you, they're going to drift off. But yes, that is a number one, because I'm a snacker. So I'm coming in to see if they have my favorite snacks. If not, I'm going to bring a bag with something, and I'm quick to share with whoever's at my table. And typically, if you do that, then that may get the attention to someone next to you. It's like, oh, wait a minute, they have that over there. So yes, candies and maybe squeeze balls, stress balls, things like that are really great during the workshop.
Slinkies. You know, I just
You know,
yeah.
that really, I didn't mean to cut you off. Something else, and this was maybe hide something under a chair
Oh,
and have like a prize for someone to see if they can find it. People love prizes, so we've done that too.
I really like that because you, as the facilitator, actually put some thought into it, and they know that you cared enough to think that extra mile and not do it. The other thing I've seen is World Cafe facilitations where they have a talking stick, like a piece of wood that they pass around. So that gets people
Mhm.
moving, and the person holding the wood is the one who's speaking. I always thought that one was fun. So,
Okay.
Karen, well, thank you so much. That was very helpful. Please stay on because we may have some questions for you at the end. And there may be audience members who may be typing questions to you too. So we're going to go with poll number 3. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, poll number 3. Do you engage your members in what the content of your workshop should be? So do you engage your members in what the content will your workshop be? So yes, you engage your members, no, you don't, or I don't know. So this could be the content before, or it could be content for the next session that you're doing. Now, Farron, even though we don't have that music, I bet a lot of us are doing the Jeopardy counting theme song melody in our head. But 55% said yes, that's great. You get buy-in when you use the content of your audience. 14% said no, and 31% said, I don't know. So it's good to think about what your members want to hear about, especially on major topics. Thank you, Farron. So if we could have Dina on screen, we'll go to our next. Hey, Dina, can you
Hi.
tell us a little bit about yourself and the wonderful holiday background you have?
Sure. My name is Dina Beck, and I'm a member of the Minden Rotary Club in District 5630, which is also the Christmas city. So this is our picture of our courthouse, which has been illuminated with 12,000 lights for over 100 years. So we'd be happy to have you come and visit. I'm also the district facilitator or district trainer for my district, which has been a really fun role to play.
Wonderful. So for the last 2.5 weeks, I've been supporting President Stephanie as she went to the All India Institute with Sri Lanka and Nepal, and then at the Japanese Institute. And it seems like her major message involved club culture. So my question to you, Dina, is how can we use workshops to help improve our club culture?
Well, depending on where your club is with their culture and what's needed, the topic can be very relevant. And I think if you're giving people the right information they want in the right way, that's going to improve culture. And I really lean on, as a district facilitator, the assistant governors and the district governor to talk to just kind of be the ears out there to hear what people are talking about. Because if a couple clubs are talking about X, then surely others need it as well.
So in our code of policies, we say that membership is our #1 internal priority at Rotary, with eradication of polio our #1 external. So since growing Rotary is so important, how can we use workshops to grow Rotary?
think share our message and our good work, and inviting people to come in and learn more about what we have to offer. And there's so many different topics. An example in our district, I would say, is that we've been pushing membership. And I love that, but I also want people to feel engaged, and so they know what's going on. And so every other month we do a lunch and learn, and we have probably 3 times a year Rotary 101, because we want people to make sure they're onboarded well. And then we kind of stay with the Rotary calendar. So January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and so we do that. So we try to listen to what people are talking about, and then also be responsive in relation to what Rotary is working on.
Wonderful. So when you sit down with your district governor's district trainer, or as a president sits down, strategizing, we said we had a plan for it. What are the key elements that you have to include when you're preparing a workshop?
I'm so glad you asked. Can I share my screen? Is it okay?
Please, please.
Okay, great. I'm going to kind of fly through these, but I think there are some really important pieces. And if you want this, I can absolutely email it. But the who, what, when, where, why, and how, I think are really important. So who, you just have to think about who's your audience for this, and how can this solidify your current members, and then also bring in some new ones so they don't all have to be Rotarians. And then not only who's invited, but who's also going to be speaking, who's going to be catering, unlocking the door. And I could tell, Farron tells me I only have 10 minutes. I could talk an hour about all the mistakes I've made. So I've learned this. So learn from me. And then have those names and phone numbers handy of all those people in case you have trouble with technology or whatever. I'm talking mostly now about in-person workshops, but you can kind of correlate it with virtual as well. I think it's really important, kind of like what we did, these panelists, is to get them together beforehand, just to kind of do a run through, make sure we all sort of know each other. And then also they know the goals of the workshop, to make sure they address those. And you can also ask them to make sure they have key points that they want to mention. And as a facilitator, if they miss that, I feel like that's my job to say, hey, Tom, remember you were going to talk about this? And so we can kind of circle back. I think with the registration, it's really great to be able to track who's coming, and just in that also to be clear about the goals and the locations and the accommodations and allergies and all that stuff. And I think even though everybody thinks they know each other, to have name tags, I think it's a really important piece to remember each other's names. And again, we talked about what Karen and Gretchen did a great job of setting me up. Thank you so much for what you had to say, because it really feeds into this as well. Just to listen, to see what they are talking about and what they want to hear. And you'll know by who shows up, knowing that there's never one best time to meet. When I feel very strongly about starting on time, and giving latecomers some grace, because it happens, life happens, right?
Right.
When putting together a workshop, I really try to make a little extra time, and have some activities that I can fill in if needed. I don't like anybody to feel rushed. And I'm also, not afraid to pull out the shepherd's crook and let them know that the time's up, just to be respectful of everybody that comes after them. It makes total sense. And if you need some ideas for fill-in times, let me know. I have those at the ready too. Where verify early and often. I have been outside in the cold with a locked door. And so that, I guess, is something that keeps me up at night. Just make sure you're keeping in touch with the venue, and so you know who's going to be there. And then also if you have access to the heating and cooling system, the microphone, the technology. And I love using technology. It's fabulous. I lean on it quite a bit, but I also keep in my mind there's a chance it's not going to work. So I need to have some handouts and something like that ready. So I encourage you to be ready with that. I think it's really important. The ladies before me talked about the welcome. I feel really strongly about doing an agenda review for everyone so they know what to expect. And I like to keep it at the front of the room so they know what's next. Where are we? Is this lady almost done talking? I also have some discussion agreements that I put together, which is just, I have it as a handout and I try to put it at the front of the room too, just to, be as present as possible. I mean, we're all adults, we have life going on, but to be present and no fixing, saving, advising, or correcting. There's just really some good things in there. And something that I really like that's important, I'm an extrovert, so I don't have to worry much about this, but things are offered as an invitation and not by demand. You don't have to participate in the kumbaya. If whatever you're comfortable with, we will meet you there, because we definitely don't want to exclude anyone. The icebreaker, I think Karen mentioned that, so important. Statistically, if they get their voice in a room, they are more engaged and they'll retain more information. So just even if you have said out loud who you are, where you're from, and your first car or whatever. The why, remind people when you start out, like, we've listened to you, this is what we've heard in the district, and here's what we're bringing to you. We hope that you enjoy it. I feel strongly about sending a follow-up survey just to see if you hit the mark. And sometimes it's a little brutal, but that's how you learn and that's how you do better next time. Gretchen talked about, you can't have somebody just standing in front of you for so long, and they don't want to do that either, I would think. So lively, real people, and a mix of speaking and interactive. And like Karen said, you can read the room, when you're losing people and you need to break out the snacks and maybe have some time together. As strongly as I feel about the icebreaker, I also feel strongly about having a closing circle. So to say something, the last one we did was it was a women's empowerment. So we started out in the morning talking about, I'm coming here today feeling or with, and encourage them to be real. And they did. And it's really good. And so the closing circle with that one was, I'm leaving here today feeling or with. And so that's kind of a way you can see was this good? Because people will say, I'm rejuvenated and I'm inspired and all of that. And likely, if you're anything like our district, if you have a workshop, you have had sponsors that help put that on. And so before I even go to that, I already have them addressed and stamped. And then I pass the thank you notes around, and everybody that is present signs them, because I think it's very important that those people are recognized. And a handwritten note. Who doesn't like a handwritten note?
I love that. That was great. Your section was packed full of good information. I love the practice, because there's nothing worse than having two speakers back to back talk about the same topic because they didn't confer. And if you don't have facility staff there present, get their cell phone numbers. That helps. Could you please cut and paste your key elements into the chat so that people can have it?
Sure.
Okay, great. And stick around, because we may need you for more answers.
Excellent.
Good.
Thank you,
Thank
Tom.
you. Farron, can we have poll question number 4? Okay, what type of impact would you like to see from your workshops? Re-engaging your members, adding new Rotary members, spreading Rotary knowledge, or fostering new connections? And the answers are 70% said re-engaging current members. That's so important to keep, those members are the ones that are already there. It's easier to keep your members than to get new members. Adding new members, 47%. That's also important, attracting those new members. Spreading knowledge, 43%. And fostering new connections, 36%. So they're all important, but it's good to know what's most important. And we have an annual all-member survey, and we have a leadership survey. And actually, the leadership survey, when district governors and club presidents are asked, it turns out that engagement is the #1 thing they're concerned about. So you're reflecting, our sample populace reflects what larger Rotary is telling us. So Ruth, can you please come on screen and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I can, because I understand my technology. My
Yes.
name is Ruth Finkelstein. I often go by Ruth Suhler, which is my married name, but since I was Ruth Finkelstein for a number of years, I still go by it. I've been a Rotarian for over 27 years. I am the current District Grant Committee Chairperson and also our district's DEI coordinator. And
Wonderful.
I hail from Galveston.
Okay, great. I'm so glad Texas is part of our zone. It's we have some good Rotarians there. So you talked about technology. How do clubs integrate technology when they're actually doing a workshop?
Well, you've seen some of it demonstrated tonight during the workshop that we're having right now. You've seen online surveys, which give you immediate pulse readings. You know what's going on in the room. You've seen visuals of each of us, and we're coming from different parts of the United States. And so these are two immediate aspects of using technology in your webinars or in your meetings. But it's also a wonderful opportunity to have a technology section in your workshop. And what I mean by that is a lot of people don't go to some of our Rotary activities because they don't know what's in it for them. And so I envision having a technology sharing so that some of your younger members can engage some of our not so tech savvy members and have a little off the wall meeting where you can bring your computer, bring your smartphone, and have some of our tech savvy newer members help some of our other members. So it's not really a component of the workshop per se, because it's not talking about Rotary, but it's a what's in it for me to go to this. So it's kind of like a cast your line out there and bring some people in. But it also, as you've seen tonight, it allows us to come together as a group from different areas. And if you think back to COVID, many of the clubs went hybrid. They have in-person and they had virtual. We lost a number of people because we went virtual, because they were not able to understand the technology or how to do a Zoom meeting or how to even just show up and make the link work for them. But that's what's called an innovative disruption. From that moment in COVID, e-clubs took off. And so e-clubs became a viable alternative for a club. So technology has given us the opportunity to offer prospective Rotarians another venue to become a member. But again, it's about convenience and it's about just bringing in people from all over. You can have guest speakers from all over the world. You can have guest speakers from other clubs, and you don't have to house them, feed them, or pay for their transportation because they're just coming to you via the internet.
I love that. And I think it's so true. You can get high quality speakers that way. And it's interesting, you bring up e-clubs, and the two fastest growing clubs in our district right now are e-clubs that both started within the last 5 years. So it's, I think that's a big part of our future. Of course, our traditional clubs are never going away. They're the background. We love them. I'm in one, would never leave it. So one big thing that is a big value to our members, whether you be a new member, whether you be an existing member, a district governor, even directors, we have what's called the Rotary Learning Center. So can you spend some time talking about how our members can get that value and how they can use it?
I love the Learning Center, and I hope that everybody that's attending tonight has at least taken one class in the Learning Center, because it's not just about Rotary. It's about everything that you do. It can help you in your own jobs. There's management modules. There's how to do fundraising, how to give a speech, how to prepare the speech, information about peace fellowships, how to have that difficult conversation in the workplace or in your club if somebody feels that they're being harassed or disrespectful, effective facilitation. So before you come to a webinar like this, there is a module for you to take in the Learning Center. And it's a deep dive in bite-sized pieces for anybody that wants to learn more about Rotary. So you have a prospective member, or a new member rather, you have a new member and they want to know more about what is Rotary. There are so many modules that will give them more information than they could even imagine and help them make decisions about where they want to go in Rotary. One of my big things is talking about careers in Rotary, that there's a career path. You come in as a member and you think, how can I get more involved? Well, I can get more involved within my club. Maybe I want to be the secretary. Maybe I want to be a president. And then there's the district. And then there's the zone. And then there's Rotary International. And so that career path can start by going to the Learning Center.
And you're right, at every one of those Rotary career paths, you can use this. You know, one of my jobs for President Stephanie is assigning, with her approval, president's representatives, and there are classes there. Let me ask you this. If you're a governor or you're a president, can you get help from Rotary International staff to set up a plan that's tailored to your specific need?
Oh, yes. Rotary International can answer any question you have. And it's amazing to me how many clubs, what's the word I want? Immobilize themselves because they don't know that they are free to call upon their assistant governor, to call upon their district governor, to call RI directly. If I can share an example, we had an incident within my club and it involved some legal issues. And we all felt very handicapped that we didn't know what resources we had. So I just happened to be president that year and I called RI and I received terrific guidance from them. They were happy to help. You know, we feel self-imposed. We put ourselves in these little cells and we're afraid to come out of them. And that's the beauty of Rotary, is that we are all connected. We are all Rotarians.
And my understanding is if you set up a specialized learning plan, that you can have RI send you the statistics of who the assigned people that they took the class or not, so you know.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we only have a limited time left. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to go back to each of you and I'd like you to tell our audience the one thing they should remember when they go back to their clubs tomorrow morning. So we'll start with DGND Gretchen.
The one thing that I want people to take away from this is make sure that they're doing the surveys and they're asking what the goals are and what do people want to hear in their workshop. I think that's really important.
So important. We need to keep our members happy, and if we don't give them what they want and ask them and then act on it, we don't get their buy-in. Yeah. Thank you. That's great. Karen?
If there is one thing to take back, is feedback, feedback, feedback. You have a lot of people. Engage with your members and use that feedback to engage with them, because there are some people that they're seen but not heard, and that feedback is truly important.
Absolutely. It's like Mayor Koch in New York back in the 70s. How am I doing? How am I doing? That's important. We need to get that feedback.
Yes,
We
sir.
need to make sure. And you know, it's interesting when you talk about surveys, because Rotary International says you should do it once a year. And that makes sense to me, because you always have new people coming in and you have people leaving. So that club culture is constantly changing. So you can't just do a survey 1 year and say, okay, we'll do it again in 5 years. It's not like a strategic plan. The survey needs to be done regularly. So thank you, Karen, for bringing that up. Dina?
Thanks. I want to echo what Gretchen and Karen said. And then I would say my biggest takeaway is just the importance of the icebreaker to get everybody's voice in the room.
Wonderful. Ruth?
Don't be afraid of technology. Remember that Rotary is bigger than your club, and the technology allows you the opportunity to bring us all together.
That's perfect. And it's a good one to end on, because I'd like to say that this webinar is on our zone webpage. So if you have a club that your speaker doesn't show up, feel free to play this and let them know that you're thinking about these things and you're putting that extra effort to make sure that your club or district workshop is going to be the best it can be. So thank you all. I hope you have a good holiday, and I'll turn it over to Lloyd for our closing.
Wow. Can you hear me? Okay, great. I am speechless. This has been, oh, don't laugh, come on. This has been a great webinar. I've been taking notes. I've learned some new things. And I know that the folks who are here today that actually listen to this will be able to create more impactful workshops. And I also know too that this is going to be a resource for them. This will be a recording on our, as you said, Tom, on our Zone website. They can go there, and we should not ever have a bad workshop again, simply because the information we had here today was just fantastic. So I guess the call of action that we would like for the members here to do is to put together or plan a new workshop. And what I mean by that is you might have already had a workshop plan, but how does this presentation that we've done today make you rethink it or change it so that it could be a better workshop? So think about that over the holidays. And the only other question I have right now is we have some Q&As, and I just want to know if, Farron, if all our Q&As have been answered. I believe so. It's one of the few.
Yes, most of them have been answered.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Well, then the only thing that's left now is to wish everyone a happy holiday. And thank you for attending our webinar. And we'd like to also, let me pull it up here, if my computer is going to work for me today. Let you know that our January webinar, Planning and Engaging Activities Beyond Meetings and Fundraising, is on January the 21st. So please sign up and be ready for another exciting webinar. Again, happy holidays, and that's it. Good night, everyone. Thanks for being a part of this.